Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting Vobie One-Eyed Kenobi Showbie with me, Richard Vobes, on the 12th, yes, the 12th of November 2021, at 8 o'clock, from the upstairs room of a Victorian house somewhere on the south coast of England, beaming into your living room or your mobile device, or whatever it is that you're watching on. It could, for all I know, be on your watch, and you're going, here, watch it, Vobes. Ha ha! There again, perhaps you're not doing anything like that. Perhaps you're just putting your feet into the sea, wishing that you would have a relaxing evening and the bloke next to you happens to be playing the Vobe show out loud on his ghetto blaster. That could happen, ladies and gentlemen. It really could. I'm not quite sure how, but I gather that could happen. Anyway, in today's show, welcome aboard. Nice to see you. Don't forget to wipe your feet as you come in. I've been down to the dump, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I know. Oh dear, yes. Went down to the dump. You see, my father died not so long ago, and I've been down in the dumps. Well, couldn't afford a proper funeral. But, thanks. Oh, wait a minute. Hang on. We can do that if we do magic things. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone a gem. That's actually a joke from the Burkus Way. Eric Pode of Croydon. Anybody who remembers the Burkus Way from 1978 or whenever it was. Anyway, here we are once again. Yes, I have been down to the dump, actually. I've been down there emptying the house. I had to do it. I put my back against the wall. I said I would go down to the dump and empty some of the things in the shed, some of the stuff in the house. And I managed to fill up, thank you, I managed to fill up just one cornetto, one van load of stuffy, took it to the dump. He was very, and do you know, I went down to the dump with my van and showed the license, showed my driving license, showed my council tax, all this stuff that you're supposed to show these days when you go down to the dumpy. And then the guy there checked. He said, "Do you mind if I look in the back?" It was all in the van. You see, it's all in the van. I said, "Oh yes, have a look in the back," because they wanted to make sure it wasn't commercial rubbish. You see, all this like I don't know, out of a builder's van or something. So I had a look round and went, "Oh yes, that looks all right. Yes, in you come, matey. In you come." So in I went and parked up and started to pull my stuff out of there. And there was this chap, and he, one of the helpers, workers who worked there in his fluorescent jacket and all of that. And I said, "Oh, good morning." And he said, "Oh, good morning." And he was looking at me, and I thought, uh-oh, what have I done? What have I done? What have I done? What have I done? And he said, he said, "Take your glasses off for a minute." I said, "Why? Why?" He said, "You're the Bald Explorer, aren't you?" I said, "Yes, I am." He said, "Oh, I watch your videos. Oh, you've got me outside walking over in the hills. I never used to do any of that, but I take my dog up there and it's lovely. All the way around Sompting and all up there by the church, it's got Saxon origins, that church." I said, "Yes, that's right, it has. Well done. Excellent." I said, "So pleased." Anyway, I said, "I've got a van load of stuff here. Any chance of a little help getting it?" "Oh, no, I can't help you, mate. You get on with it. Go and take that down into the mixed household goods. That over in the plastic. That right down the far back's where the metal goes. What have you got there? Bit of carpet. Yeah, that goes right down there under it. No, you can't take the van up there. No, go." No, he didn't. He didn't actually help me, but he was very nice, very civil. It was very nice. I just had someone whistle their stuff at me, which is very good. Thank you very much. Anyway, here we are live on the show, ladies and gentlemen, on a Friday. The weekend is in front of us. It's exciting, isn't it? Are you doing anything nice at the weekend? Doing anything jolly? I'd like to know if you are. A lot of people saying hello, hello, hello. David Vad says it's all commercial rubbish. It's actually quite true. Yes, quite right. Everything you take down to the dump, mostly, unless it's stuff you've made yourself out of knick-knack, paddywhacks, give the dog a bone, and then cut the tail off and turn that into, I don't know, a fridge magnet of some description. People do that, They can cut the tails off animals and turn them into Lucky Charms. Sometimes it's a limb as well. I believe people used to cut off rabbits' feet and toads' feet and the feet from elephants. Although hanging that round your neck's quite... Will you stop pinging me on the phone? Somebody's pinging me. I'm just going to turn the volume down so we don't have annoying pings. I should have done that years ago, many, many years ago, but I've only just worked out how to do it. Anyway, here we are, and we do have a lovely couple of videos for you. You're going to be over the moon with the videos that we've got. We've got a murmuration. We've got a mumblation. Sorry. So some starlings will be murmuring in the sky. Anybody know why it's called murmur? Do they murmur as they fly around in perfect symmetry? Do they murmur? Anyway, that's from My Body, Bonnie Lies Over the Ocean. And actually, funnily enough, it's not quite over the ocean, but it is over the English Channel, a little bit of the Channel, I believe, near Brighton and the pier. In fact, Bonnie peers out towards the Channel to see the murmuration. And we will get to see that later on in the show. Andrew Norris is back. Yes, he is back. Not only is he back sending in videos, which is absolutely fantastic, but he's back in Croatia. And oh my goodness, I've just been chatting to him on the apps of Watts. And we've been having a discussion about, what to do when you get on an aeroplane when a whole bunch of people have got guns. Yeah, guns, ladies and gentlemen. He was on a plane, not with hijackers. No, they weren't high as a kite or anything like that. But they were hunters. As in... aeroplane hunters. They were hunting an aeroplane to go and fly them back to Croatia, I suppose. But no, they were going hunting. And so they had to take and show, this is my 12-bore shotgun. Oh, yes. This is my Uzi. Right. And this is my Kalashnikov. Right. And this is my highly explosive atom bomb. Oh, yes, that's fine. No problem. Just a moment. Is that a small piece of metal on that ring of yours? You can't possibly come on board, because with a ring like that, I mean, has it got a tone? What do you mean, has it got a ring tone? No, it's got no ring or tone, thank you very much. It's just plastic. Oh, well, fair enough. So, yes, poor old Andrew had to check himself on board with a bunch of gun runners. Well, they might not have been running their guns, but they were checked into the hold, as you can imagine. I'm sure the pilot probably had a quick snifty at them and said, well, I have one of those in here, because when you're flying, don't you know, we can open up the window, 40,000 feet, and we can bag ourselves a couple of geese on their way to Greece. Before they get to Greece, then they're not covered with all that well, we could bag them. It'd be very nice for Christmas, don't you know? Be very, very good. Anyway, so he's back. He's back in Croatia, and we can't wait until he gets out there and makes some more of his lovely, fine videos, which you can find at the Andrew Norris channel. Andrew Norris 1 or 2, I forget which. Just put in Andrew Norris, you'll find him, into the tube of views, which is grand. So that's what we've got coming up in today's show when I stop talking. Lord Jeffrey is out there. He says, evening, Richard. Evening, all. He says, are we going to be here for 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, or 4? Probably 5. 5 hours, I'm afraid, tonight. So strap yourself in for a 5-hour spesh. You think I'm joking? Yes, I am. I've got sleeping to do. Oh, sleeping. Very important that you get your sleep. We were talking to Bonnie last week or last show, and she told us how little sleep she got. And I thought, oh my God, this is terrible. You need to get your sleep, woman. Otherwise, you'll be suffering from all sorts of things in latter life. Probably lack of sleep is one of the things that you could be suffering in latter life. So there we are. Anyway, don't forget you can call the show on 0793 474 6790. As indeed, somebody has just done that very thing. Let's find out who that is as we say, hello, caller, welcome to the show.
Good evening, Vobes Kenobi.
Good evening to you, voice of reason. Who are you and where do you come from? And what is your shoe size?
You don't recognise it. Size 10. Terry from Southwater.
Good, Terry from Southwater, size 10. Nice to. I always like to know that just in case you put the boot in, because I'm only size 9, so I've got dainty little feet apparently.
Yeah, but if I buy Wellington boots, I have to go a size larger, 11, because I wear thick socks when I'm sloshing around in the mud.
You want to wear intelligent socks? You wouldn't have to have so larger boots.
Yes. Anyway, I thought I'd give you a ring because you're just talking about the missing ring.
Yes, the missing ring. I'm glad. Thank you very much. What would you like to add to tonight's show, Terry Banton?
Well, you started off by mentioning your visitation to the dump.
Yes. Have you been?
Not recently, because in Horsham, the Hoppost roundabout dump, you have to book online and get your slot.
Oh, I had to do that. But I was very lucky because I booked mine on yesterday, and then I knew that I had to do this job today of going down the dump and emptying the stuff. So that my logs, because I didn't get to the main part of the story, the main part of the story is I've got a load of logs coming tomorrow, and if I get the logs in, I will never get the rubbish out. So I have to get the rubbish out before the logs come in.
Yes, don't forget to log on before your delivery arrives.
No, yeah, well, I will. I've just got to tidy up the space because he brings it on this chap, John, very nice chap, John. He comes on a flatbed lorry with these bags of logs, and he has a crane, and it lifts them up, and it's a bit like those fairground cranes where you put your 50p in, and you try to get the teddy bear. Only in this case, it's 200 quid, and yes, I get all 3 bags.
Oh, good.
Yes. so there we are. So so that's what I'm doing. So your dump is the same sort of principle. You got a book on.
I just wanted to enlarge on the word dump because it has quite a few
connotations.
Context, doesn't it? Connotations, yes.
Go for it.
Before we go any further, you said you went down to the dump, but I think they like to be called amenity tips by the local district authorities.
Oh, I'm sure that there is a politically correct language for it, but when we say dump, we all know what we mean.
Yes, and you have to wear your +4s if you go to the Horsham dump.
Oh, do you?
Yes, you have a shotgun under your right arm and your bag of grouse in the sack over your shoulder. So sounds a bit crazy. Yeah.
It does sound a bit crazy. I would love to have a pair of +4s. I wonder if Harris Tweed do +4s. I'm sure they must do. Yeah. They do that. That's the sort of thing they would do. I'd love to dress up a bit more. I was thinking about this last night, just going off the subject of dump, but I was thinking about England and Englishness that I do in the Bald Explorer, at least I try to. And I was thinking, yes, what I should do really is just try to be more eccentric and dress up and more English in the English that I think of England. I mean, there'd be lots of English. There'd be the punk type of English, like Vivian from The Young Ones. In a denim jacket with studs on and tattoos and no hair, and that's a perfectly good impression of a type of England. But I'm perhaps a bit more stereotypical. I'm there's nothing original in me at all. I was thinking, yes, I should be perhaps a bit more like the old-fashioned dapper Englishman. At the moment, I've been watching a lot of clips on YouTube with Ian Carmichael. And I think, he is such a typical sort of 1950s Englishman, don't you think?
Yeah. Is he the one that used to have the cigarette holder? Or am I thinking somebody else? No, that's Terry Thomas, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, Terry, yes. Well, again, Terry Thomas is also a sort of of that era. I love that era. I love that sort of 40s, 50s era of the English chap. And I thought, maybe I should get myself one of these two-piece suits that they wear. I say, absolute shower.
Absolute shower.
You cad. You can't possibly mean that, could you? I love all that. So I thought maybe I should bring some of that into the Bald Explorer and be a bit more eccentric. Not over the top, but just subtly. I say, absolutely. Look at that. Good gracious. But anyway, go back to your dump thing. We were having.
Yes, I've just got a few other contexts, connotations, as I call them.
Yes.
Apart from the amenity tip,
yes.
i.e. refuse dump, dump can also mean an unpleasant place. I'm
sure yes, that's right.
It's not a dump.
Oh, Worthing used to be an absolute spiffing place. Now it has gone through times when it's been a bit of a dump, especially around Teville Gate where I live, or close to where I live. Just for anybody who wants to come and visit me, in case you don't know where I am, I'm in the very highbrow part of Worthing, don't you know? But the area, what I'm talking about, it's still a bit sort of dodgy, but it has been worse. I think they have done a bit of clearing up, although I don't find the modern architectural styles terribly appealing.
Yes, but you've got the advantage because your place is of Victorian origin. You've got the flues to pipe your hot emissions up the chimney from your essay.
Yes, absolutely. Especially after I've done a dump, I can get rid of those emissions. To go back to the dump stuff, yes.
Yes, that's another one on my list.
Oh, good.
It's, the posh way of putting it is act of defecation.
Oh, we all have to have an act of defecation from at least once a day.
Yes, it's something most people have in common, apart from paying taxes. Most of us pay taxes, I think.
Yes.
And ultimately passing on to another place.
Indeed. Hopefully not
or
up the flue.
Well,
that's it. That's where you do go up the flue, quite literally. Have you got any more dumps?
Well, the last one on my... data backup. You dump data into an alternative place.
Oh, yes, yes.
So you wouldn't lose all your YouTube videos. You'd copy them or cut and paste or whatever you like to say into another form of storage facility.
Absolutely, yes. And I like that sort of vernacular where you say, "Oh, just dump that over there," instead of place. I mean, I often use very sort of coarse language. It's something I don't know why I've adopted it, but I have adopted it. I found myself, in saying, "Oh, well, shut your gob." I like the sort of much baser terms in which you just throw into the sentence because it makes people look at you and go, "What did you just say?" Shove it is another. I'll often say, and I find myself saying this all the time, which is why I will often say it, I suppose. Oh, just shove it over there. And shove is a word which gives the impression that you're not really giving anything any sort of due care and attention. You're bunging it. Bung is another word. Bung it over there. So if I've just diffused a bomb, what do you want me to do with it? Oh, just shove it under the table and bung something over it.
Yeah, or dump it in the spare room. I think you've got probably a spare room somewhere.
Yeah, I have. My spare room was emptied. It had an act of defecation earlier today when I went to the dump, funnily enough.
Oh dear.
So, yes, there we go.
Yeah, anyway, finally, fly tipping or fly dumping, which is obviously illegal in this country.
Yes, doesn't stop people from doing it, however.
No, I mean... You went there in your van, and I guess you were scrutinised in case you were a builder with a van full of rubble or something.
Absolutely, and there's a good word there, scrutinise. I love the way you used that. That was perfect. I love that. Yes, I was scrutinised because he said, "Oh, It's like, I was awfully nice to him. I'd just been reading, and we'll get onto this maybe in the show if I don't stop talking and diverting all the time. But I've been reading some not Evelyn Waugh. What am I talking about? Kingsley Amis, bit of Kingsley Amis, Lucky Jim, and it's all I say, absolutely, don't you think? I don't know about you, or have you been doing this? It's all this sort of language, which is what I'm into at the moment. I find it very fascinating, which is why I'm talking the way I am talking at the moment. But so I was ever so polite to this chap at the gate. He was like, "Hello," I said, "Oh, good afternoon, very nice to see you." On all of this terrible English, which he must have thought I was a right wag. And he said, "Have you got your papers, please," type thing. I said, "Yes, I've got my driving license, I've got my council tax, and I've also got my license to come here in a commercial vehicle, blah, blah, blah." And he said, "Oh, yes." And he looked at it, and it was all very sort of checkpoint Charlie stuff. And he said, "Yes, that's all in order, sir." He said,
he's probably employed by Border Force or Priti Patel or someone like that.
Well, I mean, if he is, that Priti Patel was doing a pretty good job at the dump, not so good on the border, it would appear. Anyway, then he said, and he was almost reluctant to ask, but I could see he clearly had to ask this, and I think it was because I was just being ever so charming. And he said, "Do you mind if I look in the back?" And I said, "No, of course, help yourself." So he went round the back, and I'd forgot it, I'd locked it, and he said, "Oh, can you unlock it, please?" And I said, "Oh," I jumped out. I said, "I'm ever so sorry, I forget that these things have got double locks on them." Ding, ding. And I did that, and he opened the door, and he just gave it a cursory glance and said, "Oh, yes, that's fine." I said, "Thanks so much."
He wasn't checking for illegal immigrants or anything like that, I suppose, in the back of your van.
Well, it'd be a good place to place them, wouldn't it? Just come on, lads, down to the dump.
Oh, dear, getting a bit too, yeah.
Is that politically incorrect? Have I put my foot in it?
No, it doesn't matter. Anyway, can you just clear up something with Mr. Dumpman?
Yes.
You visited
yes.
at Offham.
Did
you find any toffs in Offham?
Toffs?
Yes.
No, do you know, we actually, when we were filming, we arrived, and then in a beat-up old post office van, and I'm not making this up, I make nothing up, and never make anything up, but this is true. There was a guy and a girl of some middle-aged. We arrived, and they had just woken up. They'd been to the bonfire at Lewis, and they'd found a suitable place to park their van and just sleep on a... I could see in the back, it was very, not like mine, nice and super and deluxe. It just had this coarse mattress flung where they'd been doing whatever they do in the night in a van to keep warm. And they came out and they saw us and they said, "Oh, what are you up to?" Because I'd flown the drone around, and I felt a bit embarrassed because I thought it looked like I was spying on what they were up to in the van.
Well, you could have issued them with a £50 ticket for a fly dumping.
Yeah, well, they did take the mattress with them, so they didn't actually dump anything, but they may have disappeared behind the bushes and dumped something. Yeah, another act of defecation.
Yeah, but do you know anything why Mr. Dumpman calls Dumpman films?
Yes, I do. He loves to tell the story himself, of course, but he's not here to tell it. But what happened is, when he was younger, he used to skive from school a lot, and he used to, near where he was, there was an old dump, like a dumping place, a car dump or something. So he often went down there and was smoking, and everyone called him, where Chris, his real name is. He said, "Where's Chris?" "He's down in the dump." And so eventually he got this name Dumpman because he was always in the dump having a fag, and it sticked, and he took it as a compliment, or he became Dumpman. So it's funny, isn't it?
Well, all I can suggest, next time you go to the amenity tip,
yes,
that you wear your +4s and your tweed jacket. I think you've got a tweed jacket somewhere.
I have two, in actual fact. Harris tweeds, I'll have you know.
Were they knitted by Bonnie or something like that? Or...
No. Both of them were actually given to me. I haven't actually bought a Harris tweed jacket in my life, but both were purchased for me, which was very kind, very generous, by two different people at different times.
I'm going to sign off now, but I was going to talk about... I think somebody else could call in this evening and discuss the outcomes or possible outcomes of the COP26, or cop-out as I call it now.
Yes, well, it has been a bit of a cop-out. I don't think they've already booked Egypt, I don't know whether it's all of Egypt or just a pyramid or something. So clearly, I think Boris Johnson said we were 1 minute to midnight with this, and we had to do something about it. But 365 days later, in the future, they're going to have another COP27 in Egypt. So you kind of get the feeling that it couldn't really have been 1 minute to midnight if they've booked another one. So,
no. Well, apparently he appeared around the middle of this week, and then he disappeared 3 days early. Obviously knew he was on. There weren't going to be any good headlines out of it. So he disappeared again.
Well, he doesn't.
On the train this time, not the private jet. On the train.
He's desperate not to be seen to any more bad publicity. But wherever he goes, he seems to cause such bad publicity. But anyway, there we are. Thank you very much, Terry.
Okay,
Look after yourself, and do call again.
Yes, okay. In a week's time, maybe.
Yeah, whenever you like. Cheers, preferably when we're live. All right.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
English gentleman.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. There we are. That was Terry Banton, ladies and gentlemen, from jolly old Southwater, which is rather north of Worthing, don't you know. We're going to be playing in a video very soon, which will be nice, and to relieve everybody from the dulcet tones of me. But just before we do that, let's just very quickly have a look at some of the comments in which you were saying. Jane B says to Station Master's Chai something like, I would turn it off. Mummy is not so suitable if you keep your eye on the phone in case Richard Vobes says hello to me. Jane B, I'm just saying hello to you now. Hello, Jane B. Nice of you to pop by. Thank you so much for joining us. Give us a call on 0793 474 6790. It'd be lovely to hear your dulcet tones. Rami Boo says, I've always been curious about that too, Josephine, although I'm not quite sure what Josephine... Oh, so as dump has so many meanings, where did Dumpman... Oh, there we are, I've answered that, so that's marvellous. Nice to see you, Josephine. Not tonight, Josephine! Not tonight, Josephine! I wonder if Josephine ever got it, whatever it was she was after. I love the bomb scene in the film Hot Fuzz, says Michael White. Oh, Gord, blimey, says Bonnie. And Lee Wigginton, he says, chuck it in a corner, shove it under there, bung it. I love those old words. Good old lovely English slang, says Colonel Cragratty. So I think we've sort of managed to get through the things. Michael White says Biden likes having a dump in unusual places. Yes, well, I suppose when you get to a certain age, you're unable to control certain parts of your body and things just drop out. How are we doing there? Sticked, says Bonnie. Not quite sure what that means. And the lovely Julia says, please can you say hello to Oscar, Bernie's grandson, who is watching with Jane. Hello, Oscar. Very nice of you to be watching. Thank you so much. And what a star you are to be the grandson of jolly old Bernie. Bernie is a decent chap, don't you know? He's got some lovely hair stuff, which when you're a bit older, Oscar, you too can have some of that. Just shave it off and stick it on, as it were. So, yeah, and we love the videos. So keep telling him to go out and make the videos, which will be good. Grandad makes some splendid videos and he sends them in. And we hasn't sent any for a few days, but we know he will. So that's marvellous. Carrying on. Ramibu, yes, blah, blah, blah. Carla Siguala, who I know I've mispronounced your name, and please don't get offended. Well, it's up to you. I'm just going to call you Carla because Siguala is obviously not quite what it is. But hello from the Florianopolis Island. Hello to you down there, or up there, or over there in the Philopodolopodus Island. I wonder where have we been there? The Floridaropolis. Did we do that once before? Did we do that? I think we looked online, didn't we? Was that you or was it somebody else? Station Master's Choice says the hot fuzz is actually a beard. Oh, yes, that's very good. Brilliant. Marvellous. Now, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I've got some questions I want to ask you in tonight's show after 26 minutes. We may go a bit longer than the hour tonight if you're up for it. We've got 2 videos. We're going to play one of those any second now. Here's a question for you I want you to think about whilst we do the show, and we'll come back and I'll ask this. I was watching something this evening. It's talking about... what was it talking about? It's talking about the counts. Oh, I always get this wrong. Not the council, but the cancel culture. You try saying that in a live show when millions of people are watching you. Absolute millions, absolute shower. Are you a virtual signaller? Everyone's going to go, no, because nobody likes to be called a virtue signaller. But are you? Are you somebody who, during the pandemic, put NHS in part of your avatar on either on Twitter or on Facebook? Are you one of those people during the Black Lives Matter thing who put a picture of a black thing, a black page, on Instagram? Are you somebody who likes to virtual signal and show how virtuous you are by doing something and then putting a picture of it up on social media? I want to talk about that, and I want to find out why people do it. Why? Why are they signalling these things? Do they actually then do anything else about it? That's what I want to know. However, we have to go back into the video box to find out what video we're having this evening. And we're going to start with a little bit of murmuration, ladies and gentlemen. A bit of murmuration down there in Brighton. Oh, yes. With the lovely Bonnie. Now, Bonnie is speaking very quietly in this video, but don't let that worry you. Let the birds take the strain.
Murmuration. Filming the murmuration of Brighton here. So you can see where they are. There they are. Just off the end of the pier. All the starlings. Fly together. Just see them lifting. Just a small group tonight. Flying around the end of the Brighton Pier. Just as the sun sets, they come out. Just see them above the horizon. There's the sun setting over the old pier in the distance. That's West Pier. There's Brighton going home for the evening from work. There's Rampion wind farm in the distance. Don't know if you can see that.
There we are, a little bit of murmurization for you. How marvellous! I love the horizon there. Of course, I was told the other day. Of course, the horizon is a myth because you can never actually reach it, but that doesn't make it a myth at all. Thank you very much, Bonnie. That was fascinating. Oh, hello, steady. Keep your ears on. You are watching the Vobes show, by the way, just in case you tuned in and thought you were watching something else. Fascinating stuff. I don't know why these sterling starlings do that. Anybody know what is the reason? I know they sort of do it all in unison, but it's absolutely striking. Hopefully they don't strike the pier, of course, anything like that. Of course, Bonnie, you would have to point out that god-awful place, the wind farm there. That is, it's such an eyesore. In my mind, it's an eyesore, horrible thing, dreadful technology, unreliable, waste of money, costs us an absolute fortune. And we're all going to be paying for it in our taxes and in increased heating costs. But there you go. Somebody's got to say it. Somebody has to. I was watching something the other day, just as a thing, and it was saying that the mainstream of everybody, the main thing is all sort of geared going down this one path, and anybody who talks against it is called out as being backward or unintelligent or a loony or something like that. And that may be true. That may well be true. But he said that the thing that you've got to do is, if you just don't believe in whatever it is, if you just don't believe it, you've got to keep saying the things you believe in. Because even if it is only one opinion, it's still worthy of being, it's having the ability, the freedom to be able to say what you believe, whether other people agree with you or not, because there will come a time when there'll be something that you don't agree with that everybody else is agreeing with. And you'll also want the freedom to be able to say whatever it is that you want to say. So that's it. Now, talking of terrible things to do with COP26 and all of that, and wind farms being dreadful and things, this was sent in by Sean James Cameron. He saw it somewhere, and he had to... Sorry, I need to scratch my back. Ooh, there we are. That's nice, thank you. Didn't have my normal back scratcher to do it. Where is she? Back scratcher lady. I have a little filly that comes in at the weekends to scratch the back. Anyway, now this was sent in by Sean James Cameron, and I will have to moderate some of the language in it because it's a little bit rude. But I was desperate to read this out. So it says, "It's hilarious. All these school kids preaching to us oldies that we've buggered up the planet. Back in the 60s and 70s, not a plastic bottle to be seen. It was all glass that was reused. Pop bottles were taken back to the shop. No plastic bags. Loose food was in brown bags. All sweets were bought in quarter pounds and put into a paper bag. Mothers used shopping trolleys to carry heavy stuff or used a linen bag. You walked to school from 5 years to 16 years, not jumping into mummy's 4x4. No McDonald's or Burger King. Plastic toys. No polystyrene. Food boxes for you to litter the streets with. We used to have newspapers to wrap our hot food in. Milk was delivered at 5 a.m. 6 days a week by a milkman who drove an electric vehicle. And glass bottles were returned and washed and reused. Same with the pop man. I don't remember the pop man, but there we are. Holidays were in a caravan in Britain, not an aeroplane off to far-off destinations. So I think these youngsters need to take a look in that recycled mirror and think... sorry, I'll read that again. So I think these youngsters need to take a look in a recycled mirror and think it was a wasteful generation. And... So I think, this hasn't been written very well, so I think these youngsters need to take a look in a recycled mirror and think, was it my wasteful generation who have buggered up the planet? There you are, that's better. Sorry about the last line. But it's true. Isn't that true? Back in the day, we didn't have all this modern crap. Things were built to last. We didn't have obsolescence built into everything you get. Oh, yes, you can have that with you get a 1 year guarantee. 1 year and 1 day, the thing is broken. It's cheaper to throw it away and buy another one than have it repaired. We live in a society where we just chuck everything away this day and age. But that's not our fault, is it? I mean, I remember taking the beer bottles back when I was a kid and getting penny for the bottles, and then, that's how you did it. We used to have instead of sitting in bed reading things, you'd have a paper round. Yes, and it's so easy for the doom goblin to come out and say how we, the older generation, have buggered up the planet, when, of course, they're the ones on their mobile phones texting each other and on their computers and using all this, creating the demand for these things. I think that these youngsters need to look a little, and they're the ones being driven, as he said, by their parents. They don't walk anywhere. They're all wearing clothes that are brand new and cheaply made on slave wages from across the world. It's an obscene. The pop man, says Mr. Mocky, was the Corona soft drink man who came round weekly driving a Corona pop like the milkman, but at tea time. I never saw him at all. Never saw that. Kerry Baldwin says, I've been doing my bit for the environment longer than Greta has been on the planet. Yes, get back in your cot, girl. Quite right. I hear that, what's his name from Formula One? Not Formula One, Top Gear. What's his name from Top Gear? Who did the farm thing? Whose name, because now that I want to speak about him, he's got in hot water because he said that she should have her bum smacked. Can't remember his name now, you know who I mean. It was I was a secret lemonade drinker, says John B. Ah, White's secret lemonade drinker. Ah, White's. Yes, exactly. Paul Cockrell says, I see one of the men who went into space last month with Captain Kirk has been killed in a plane crash. There's an irony. Blimey, has he really? Lee Wigginton, beg your pardon, Lee, says, it's awful the way that nothing lasts these days. There is a great little place in Horsham called the Repair Cafe. You can take stuff there that no longer works, and they will help you to repair it. It is amazing, isn't it? You know, the commercial interests of the world have driven all of this. And we've been told that we must change. Now, I know that a neighbour of Julia's has her kitchen, I think it's her kitchen, changed at least once every 2 years. I mean, how does anyone, afford that? But it's this business of everything's in fashion or it's not in fashion. And so, you know, after a few years, I always get rid of this and get something new. Here we go. We have a phone call. Let's find out who that is. Let me bung me headphones on. Notice. Hello, caller. Welcome to the show.
Hello, it's Fabian. How are you?
Hello, it's very nice to hear from you, Fabian. How the devil are you?
Well, it's basically one of those moments when Jeremy Clarkson comes into mind.
Ah, there we are. That was the name I was desperately searching for. Clarkson from Clarkson's Farm.
Yeah, excellent. And just living down the road from him, it does help sometimes.
Does it?
There we are.
I thought he was.
Yeah.
I thought he was hated by all the locals.
Well, yeah, he was hated nationally by everyone. Now he's come down to earth in a very sensible manner, I suppose. But I really kind of hated him, and I thought, you know, he needed to come down a few reality check pegs, and I figured he might essentially be as crass and arrogant as he was with Hammond and James May, but unlike May, he's in April, dare I say, in such a peculiar agricultural manner. Yeah, basically, I just figured there would be one thing about him. He was very humble.
In his programme.
Yes.
Yeah, I watched the Clarkson thing, and I had access to them through some nefarious means, which I can't possibly say without incriminating myself in some fashion. But I did manage to watch them. I think it was on my son's Netflix account, if we're absolutely honest. And I watched them, and I watched them all in pretty much one after.
In succession.
Well, no, I didn't watch them all in one day. I watched one day and one the next day and one the next day. You know, I'm not very good at this sitting down watching television for hours and hours and hours. I can watch, you know, a film, then I've got to get up and walk about and do something, chop some wood and flex my muscles and look manly in the mirror at myself and say, by goodness, you're a handsome chap. And then I come back down to earth and go, oh, yeah, get on with it, Vobes. But yes, I was very impressed with it. And I thought, I've never been really much of a fan of Jeremy Clarkson, but I did think that, the series was brilliantly put together. And in his way, he drew people into some of the problems that farmers have. So I think that's very good.
Let's wake everyone up and say that this is under contract with Amazon, rather than him actually fully admiring the humbleness of our farmers, because he's got a bankroll that can support himself, other than if there are other failing farms out there. We need to be sensitive towards other farmers who like to think that, you know, I wish I had a contract with Amazon so that I can weather the storm, so to speak.
Yes. Well, he did admit that in the last episode, didn't he? He did.
He certainly did.
He certainly did say that. And he said without that, he wouldn't... I mean, without that, he couldn't have done the things that he did, you know, on a whim, do all those daft things. Because everything would have to been priced out, and you're making, and he was principally making a television program, not really farming, and that's very much the difference. Although, of course, he was, you know, it was a bit of both. But I think a lot of farmers also praised him because they could see that yes, it's a bit of a cartoon program, but it has to be. You know, that's what television is. If
Yeah,
you,
Ferrari tractor. I thought that's hilarious.
yeah, but
Or something
but
along those lines.
But the thing is, I mean, if you had a genuine farmer just doing genuine farming, you'd end up with, yeah, you might have quite a few viewers watching it, and you can test this out because you can go on YouTube and there's some farmers who do farming programs and they're all right, but they're not must watches. And that show became a must watch because it was hilarious. As well as educational. And the educational bit was subliminal, really. You learnt stuff, but because you were laughing. And it's the old John Cleese video art stuff that he used to do for the corporate people. When he set up a business and he made these hilarious videos for, like, safety videos, running around in forklift trucks and things. But because he could do sort of Basil Fawlty type impressions or characters, people could see the funny side and they would watch them and laugh, but actually they were still learning about all the things that could go wrong on a commercial site. So it's all good. So I want to ask you now, Fabian, are you a virtual signaller?
Well, I'm virtually aware of dismantling the signalling.
Good. So are you somebody who changes his avatar when there's a fad on and just wants to show the rest of the world that you are, yeah, hey, I'm in on that, whatever it is?
Well, you remember the painting and decorating shop called Fads?
Mm.
Yeah, back in the day. That was quite a while ago. I also remember the quarter pint, I think it was quarter pint milk that you get when you're a child at primary school, when I was a child at least. But then everyone was accusing Margaret Thatcher of denouncing the milk bottle kind of escapade, and then everyone was very concerned about the the Cuban Missile Crisis of the day. Although that was, at the end of the 80s, the beginning of the 80s, late 70s kind of. I was born in 1973. And it basically made me aware of, when I was 5-6 years old, that I was notably less hard up than other people. So I knew I was in a privileged position, though I wasn't terribly aware of it until adulthood, really. And looking back, I was very gracious and very, very sensitive of situations of other people's upbringing. And,
yeah, I mean,
yes.
it's interesting you say that, because when you're younger, you your life experience gives you so little in comparison to the rest of the world. So you think everybody lives the way you live, and then as you meet more people, you realise, oh, actually, I'm somewhere here on the great scheme of things. There's somebody who's not so well off as I am in certain things, whether that be money or intelligence or physical ability or whatever it is, beauty or ugliness or whatever. And then there's people above, and you start, as you go through life, you become more aware of that. But it's only as you get older you hone all of that so that you can look back and say, actually, oh yeah, I was terribly pompous, or I was terribly not pompous, whatever the opposite of that is, meek and mild, or I was this, that, and the other. And so getting old and having experience in life is a great thing, because it gives you perspective. But here's a thing then for you, seeing as we weren't, but I had been talking a bit about COP26 and all that, and the doom goblin. I mean, there's this. She's now 18, Greta Thorndike, whatever her name is, and she, everyone's been listening to her. But are they going to continue listening to her now that she's no longer this twee little thing with ringlets? Have you gone? No, you're still there, but you're not talking. Oh, well, that's that then. Thank you very much, Fabian. I could hear that you were still there. Must have been something gone wrong with the line, but never mind. Anyway, fascinating conversation with Fabian there. So, yeah, I want to know, are you, before we get on to the next bit, are you someone who is virtuous, and do you need to signal it? Do you need to signal how virtuous you are? I believe that might be him ringing me back. Let's find out. Hello?
Hello, it's me. Sorry, for some reason the signal went out, and it's
Never
like
came back.
signal virtuing.
Yes.
It's quite odd. Well, it's like signal virtuing, which is something I thought was quite apt, really. I was just stating that Greta Thunberg is someone whom I detest because everyone made out quite categorically she was someone who was with a vulnerable nature, a singular youth who had a condition called Asperger's syndrome, and she knew, everyone knew that, because she was someone with a condition, that everyone couldn't touch her.
Yes.
Well, my problem is I've got the same condition that she has, and I can bloody well touch her.
Yeah, well,
And
you
I
could
bloody
you
well
thump
tell-
in that case? Could you give her a good thump from me?
Oh, well, I bloody well do. It's more to do with the fact that the virtual signalling of her carbon footprint is how she went traveling over in a massive carbon fiber boat to the UN nation with pompousness and telling everyone else we must go without, with carbon footprint, this and that. And yet his 18-year-old telling the rest of the adult society in general how to live their life. And only you got virtual signaling youth of today who are in minority, thank God, talking about vegetarian burgers and everything else, 10 to the dozen. And then you got cats dying because they were given vegetarian diets.
Yes, I mean it is. I mean
it's stupid.
it is ludicrous. We are in. I mean, I can't wait. If I could only live another 100 years, I can't wait to see what they think of what we're doing at the moment and the ridiculousness of the work. To sort of look back and go, oh my God, this is what are people in the future going to think of us right now? They are going to think that we are completely blithering idiots and we're worrying so much about absolute nothing, and the things we should be worrying, we're not doing anything about. You think all the money that we spent on the COVID and all the money we're spending on this Green Deal, the things that we could do actually here and now for people living today, never mind about what Insulate Britain say about, but I want to save my children down the line and all of this. I don't know why I gave them a slightly Australian accent there, but never mind them. They're not born yet. What about the people now? We could be spending the money here and now doing something about it. That's what I find obnoxious.
Richard, you see, that's the issue right there. Because, you got 20-year-olds, 21-year-old virtual signalers who are also in semi-catacombed, closed educational environments, being educated, semi-educated in early year university degrees, but then being taught half-truths, and yet who are those who do not know the subject matters to question the lecturer on the lecturing of the next generation?
Exactly.
I mean, it annoys me. I'm very much someone who's only 48 years old, who has Asperger's syndrome. I look at the past 20-odd years of when I was 28 years old. I look back 14 years prior to that when I was 14. Then I say to myself, when I was a child going into adulthood, and then I was looking at the idea of respect. Where's respect in the next generation adults who are now going into university, who need to understand the word education comes with responsibility for the next generation to understand, the outcome for not the minority, but the majority in supporting the economics of our great nation. And yet, at the same time, no one's giving a effing hell about it.
No, I mean, you've summed it up in a nutshell there. Really, we have no respect, and we don't seem to be educating people for the future. And God knows what the children are going to get when they grow up in the world that the current people who are leaving university now with this woke agenda and green nonsense is going to have. I'm going to have to move on, I'm afraid.
I really need to cut you short because I've been waffling on a bit too long. But I got also to say, in regards to the the Black Lives Matter kind of question and the virtual signaling, as you stated already, I just kind of figured it might be kind of a sensible way out for me to just say to you, I will ask you a question. Who do you think is going to win this grandiosity of corruption? Because I can see the cop-out, excuse the pun, in regards to cop or whatever this stupid kind of conference is about, and Thunberg and Attenborough, God forbid, this is going to continue. China is behind the scenes of Wuhan. China is in the driving seat in regards to everything else. Russia's playing a very clever card in regards to Afghanistan, and also so is China in regards to Afghanistan equally, and also in regards to Assad and Iran. And if never mind Yemen and Saudi Arabia and Kuwait and Lebanon and Palestine and the Jewish question in regards to
this was a quick question, was it? A quick question? Who's going to win?
My point is the question is, who do you think is going to come up smelling our roses regarding this? And my quick answer to this is the Americans.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much for that. I'll have to move on.
And listen, you take care and good evening.
Yeah, take care, Fabian. Lovely to talk to you, and call again soon. There we go. That's Fabian. Thank you very much, Fabian. The great, interesting debate there. Very intelligent chap. I was slightly struck there by Bonnie, who said, I'm a virtue signaller. Bonnie, I want to know, why are you a virtue signaller? We do have another video I want to play in as well. Hello, caller. Welcome to the show.
Just a very quick one.
Yes.
Sean.
Hello, Sean.
I was just listening to the show with a friend of mine, and I said, I don't know when the world went crazy, because back in the 70s, 80s, and the 90s, everybody seemed to be fine. And he said, well, what happened round about the 2000s? He said, Facebook started.
Ah, yes.
And I thought, that's answered that question.
That certainly has. For some reason, I seem to be buffering now.
And that is a very quick little phone call. So
well, that was a quick phone call. I seem to have been buffering. I don't know whether the internet suddenly stopped or something's happened.
You're still playing for me, but I'm about 5 seconds behind.
Oh, right. Okay, fair enough. I'm pleased to say.
Anyway, I am so excited by tonight's show. I might actually die from excitement.
Oh gosh, don't do that. Don't do that. It looks like we may well be back. Brilliant. Thank you, Sean. Bye-bye. There we go. That was Sean James Cameron. If you missed it because we were buffering, I think we were buffering halfway through that, and I apologise for that. Don't know what's the matter with the internet connection, of course, because I'm not a scientist or anything like that, or even an IT specialist, come to that, or a specialist in anything, really. But Sean raised the point that back in the 70s, everything seemed to be pretty okay, and we were sort of soldiering along, minding our own business and coping with things. And then all of a sudden, things started to go a bit wary. And he said, what was the thing that happened? Oh, yeah, Facebook started up. Social media started up. Maybe that was the correlation. I was trying to get Bonnie to give me another call because I was fascinated by her comment that she is owning up to being a virtuous person by being a virtue signaller, signaling her virtue. Give us a call after the video. Be interested to have a discussion about that. So also, I want to know, what book or what podcast are you reading at the moment? That's all in the show. But first, we are going to have a break from all of this brain power stuff. Andrew Norris has been over to good old Blighty, bless his heart, and he's had a fantastic weekend. He has been out to see some singers in the Wood and some singers in Lewes at the Bonfire Night. Let's catch up with Andrew over the past weekend.
I'm in Lewes for the weekend, staying with my good friend Kim Merton, the herbalist. And we've had quite an extraordinary weekend. It's been a weekend of contrasts of sound and light, and yesterday we joined this choir out in the wood.
Hey ho, winter snow, lots of fire, home we go. Hey ho.
And Friday was the famous Lewes firework, which I last attended about 25 years ago. So I knew what to expect on that occasion.
Birthing from this place of the darkest night. Blessed light, blessed light. Birthing from this place of the darkest night. Blessed light, blessed light. Birthing from this place of the darkest night.
So the members of the Commercial Square, that's Commercial Square Bonfire Society, which is one of the biggest societies.
There were certainly a lot of members I saw.
A lot of members. We're just the smugglers, we wear our stripy jumpers.
Yellow and black.
Yellow and black, look like little wasps.
But there's a rivalry, isn't there, between societies?
I guess so. They've got different sites and, long-standing Lewis families, so, way beyond my what I get involved with. But we have different themes and different heritages and different costumes that they uphold.
And each society makes an effigy, which they then burn.
Yeah, blow up really, don't they?
Yeah.
A few fireworks and big bangs, and they each have different bonfire sites. So some people are involved really all year round.
There is nothing, nothing like a fire under the dark sky. Nothing, nothing like a fire to mend my soul. There is nothing, nothing like a fire under the dark sky. Nothing, nothing like a fire to mend my soul. There is nothing, nothing like a fire under the dark sky. Nothing, nothing like a fire to mend my soul.
Yes, but a lot of walking, a lot of marching around the town.
Yes, yeah.
And I think it's quite extraordinary that it taps into something so, this fire.
Primeval, isn't it?
It is. And that joy of people just take to the streets. We go with our different, there's 3 major processions at least, with the last grand procession with the flaming crosses.
Yes,
and,
yeah. But it's a great tradition.
It is, and the great coming together, and as you say, it really taps into something.
And that was what,
ancient, I
that was
think.
something that both events we went to had in common, that people were coming together.
Yeah.
When you guide your way on, may the golden sun shine on you all.
And the music, we were singing medieval rounds, and one woman called Emily, she really motivated everyone, and I didn't know what to expect, but it was so moving and touching to be participating with, I didn't know anybody except 2 people vaguely, and we met some really charming people. Yeah, yeah.
It's something like we were saying, like in our DNA, that humans have done probably for eons, just sung and walked and done rituals together, and it's not written down.
May the golden sun shine on you, all love surround you, and the pure light within you guide your way on. May the golden sun shine on you, all love surround you, and the pure light within you guide your way on. Hey ho, it's just singing, lots on the fire, once we go, in a choir singing, hey ho, in a choir singing, lots on the fire, once we go, it's just
And this is such a fantastic landscape, and my heart lifts when I come to the South Downs and the North Downs, but the South Downs in particular.
And there we go, another brilliant video from Andrew Norris. Thank you so much, Andrew. So lovely to see the singers there, and that very sort of English type, I assume it's English. I mean, I guess singing, of course, has been something that the whole world do in different ways, but I guess every culture does it in a slightly different way. Fantastic to see those images of Lewis Bonfire Night and to learn a little bit about how the different factions in the bonfire. I've never actually been, I have to say, it's very remiss of me, but I've never been to the Lewis Bonfire. Not great in large crowds. So I do try to avoid. That's why I don't go to concerts and things. Not that I really like going to concerts, because I don't like the sort of music. I have been to classical concerts, but mostly when I worked as a security guard at the South Bank at the Royal Festival Theatre. You could go in and actually watch the concert, but I think I've been and sat and watched a few. But I don't like big crowds, so that's my thing. Anyway, lovely. Thank you so much. Brilliant stuff. Wonderful to see. A lot of chat going on about the 1970s in there. I think it was a bit of a glib remark that Sean made. I don't think it was meant to be taken terribly seriously. Stars B, I assume it's Stars B, says not knowing about things or being in denial doesn't necessarily mean things were great in the 70s or 80s. I don't think anyone's in denial. Denial's a bit of a strong word, isn't it? When you just make a glib statement that things were great. I don't think that's... it depends, and obviously it's from a point of view rather than a point of view or a lived experience, as people like to use that terminology these days. Somebody else might say, oh, well, actually the 70s, you're in denial of how terrible it was. But if somebody's experience was that it was great, that is their experience. I remember the 70s, I was a kid. It was great. There were bad things that were happening to me. My mother was an alcoholic. My father left home. We would come home, my sister and I, not knowing whether my mum was going to be absolutely repugnant and repulsive to us. But I still generally think that it was a great childhood that I had. Hello, welcome to the show.
Sean again.
Hello, Sean again.
It was from the point of view about how people are very short to lose their temper and don't want to listen to anybody else because everybody's living in echo chambers.
Yes.
And when did all that start? And it seems to be that and about that if your opinion is not the same as my opinion, then I'm not going to listen to you. All that did seem to start in the last 15 years, which is when Facebook started.
Yes, and I think you're right there, because I think, not necessarily the actual Mark Zuckerberg and the bloke who started Twitter and all of them. I think it's the fact that it's always been the case, whenever something is written down, it's very easy and anonymously so, or not even anonymously so, but just it's written down that the person is not in front of you and you're having a debate about something. You can write things or say things that you wouldn't say face to face. When you think back in the old days, you either had to be on the telephone or in the pub or facing that person to have that conversation. The only other place would be letters to the paper. Whereas,
well, it's like I had a conversation with somebody 2 weeks ago, a 3-hour conversation. I was trying to get some sense into them. They've then now gone and spoken to somebody else, and they've only picked out one section of that entire 3-hour conversation, and they haven't given the lead up to the fact that I said there could be a vote of no confidence in the committee. That's now been passed on to the chairman. The chairman now has been causing hell for me over the last few days. And I've said, if anybody says to you, Sean said this, come and have a word with me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I get what I get that. I'm imagining that anybody's going to cherry pick things out of conversation, and that could have gone back to the Ark. Apparently Moses said, Noah said there's going to be a rain, and all three of us can come on board. That's what he said. Now he's only saying 2 of us can come on board. Well, which is it?
But I've always got this attitude that if somebody says to me, "Oh, Richard said this," say no that somebody said, Richard said this about you, I would just be on the phone going, oh, well, I've heard this, so I just want to get it from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, I want to get it straight.
If you did say it, then let's have a chat about it, or, But
yeah.
People don't. They take everything as gospel now.
Well, the old black and white. I suppose I wonder if it comes from the fact that books had to be checked by publishers, and you'd have editors and all of this, and so we now it may not be that the facts were true in any book, but you kind of felt that because it was in black and white, it had to be true. Now, anybody can publish anything, and there is still that sort of element that it's been written down, so it must be right, even if it's just an obnoxious tweet. Oh, it's been written down. I don't know whether that has any credence whatsoever. I may have made that up on the spot, but there's something about something in writing seems to be more truthful than something that somebody said. I don't know whether that's just because it's an oral thing.
This is one of the problems with the echo chambers. If somebody said something in the past, you didn't have a lot of people. You had enough people around you not to change your mind, but just to say, "Oh, you're talking out of your bum there, mate." Whereas these days, it's very easy to only follow people that agree with you.
Yes. Oh, yes. I mean, social media is definitely, and the way the algorithm works has created these echo chambers in which you suddenly find that you're talking to the converted all the time. But
then, is this a warning for something bigger? Because when Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook, it was all about people just staying in contact. But because I can't imagine he thought Facebook today would be like it is. So that's a warning to people creating things you don't know what is going to turn into.
No, absolutely. I mean, it would be a shock, wouldn't it? If I wonder if he had any inkling that Facebook would be this multi-billion-pound industry with people slagging each other off and sharing hate speech and all of that, and banning presidents of the United States from being on it. I mean, when he started this, if he had any notion of that, I wonder if he would have started it. But you grow with something, don't you? You grow, you don't know. And then as problems arrive and then experiences, and you go, crikey, we're this big now. Okay, well, we've managed for the last 8 years. We'll carry on, and we now are gods. And
it seems to be that the art of debate has gone.
Yes.
Because I've experienced over the last 5 years that when you get a bit of success on the YouTube channel, some people want a piece of that. And I've had so many people that have said to me, "I'm not following your channel because I've heard what you've been saying about me." And I've gone, I haven't said anything. Well, I've heard from somebody that you did. But rather than coming to me and finding out, they just haven't picked up the phone for 5 years. Yeah. And then discover that it was all a load of bullock seal, and then they make themselves look stupid then.
Yeah, and then they can't come back to you because they can't save face. Interesting stuff. Thank you, Sean.
All the best.
Take care. Bye-bye. There we are. Sean James Cameron just clarifying about his comment about the 70s. Lots of conversation going on over there. People who enjoyed the video, which is absolutely fantastic. I was referring to a specific point that was said in the chat, says Stars. This, I mean, again, you said, sorry if you took any offence of that. None was given. But that's, it's a case in point, really, where it's very easy to, unless you're actually having that conversation with somebody. That's why I encourage people to ring 0793 4746 790, because if you have that conversation and somebody says something, no, I didn't mean that, I meant this, you go, oh sorry, I got the wrong end of the stick. Whereas when stuff is on text, it's so easy to get the wrong end of the stick, and often you don't know when a joke is a joke, and you're supposed to signal it by putting a little smiley face at the end. And sometimes, if being English, that's you may be using a bit of irony that other people may not completely understand. You may not want to put the smiley face on it. You may want to leave it a bit ambiguous. David Vad says, are you wearing a bathrobe, Sean? I'm not quite sure. People lost their tempers a lot on our estate. I'm sorry to hear that, Bonnie. I hope they have calmed down a bit now. I heard a batter makes maker lost his tempera, says David Vad. I'm afraid I've no idea what that means. We were thrown out of White Hawk at Station Master's choice for being a difficult family. Oh, well, that doesn't surprise me somehow. Nothing surprised me. Station Master, anyway, they're talking amongst each other, which is nice. I hope they're being very polite, awfully polite. This is what we want on this show, awful politeness, if you don't mind. Thank you very much. That's the problem with sticks. They have two ends. If you pick up the wrong end, you get the wrong end of the stick. Yes. Now, when does a stick become a staff? Oh, we've had this conversation. Yeah, there we go. Anyway, so that's what people are. So now I want to ask. Let's move on to a different subject for the last few minutes of the show. What book are you reading? Are you reading a book, or what is your favourite podcast? If you listen to a podcast, firstly, do you read books or do you just read stuff online? I'd be fascinated to know. I know I may have had this subject before, but I can't remember how it went. And I'm like the BBC, full of repeats. So what are you reading at the moment? Presumably, people are reading different books at different times anyway. And has your reading choices changed? Do you flit from fiction to non-fiction? Do you flit from romance to historical novels? Do you prefer action thrillers, or are you now on more of the classics? Do you not bother to read at all? Are you somebody who has forgone the written word and prefers to spend your evening doing that? Or do you read online? And what is the difference between reading something online, a blog post or a Facebook post, to something written in a book? Now, I would hazard a guess that if you read books, the author has spent longer if it's been published and published by, not self-published. And I'm not knocking self-publishing, by the way, because I have published a couple of books myself, self-published them on Amazon, children's books that don't sell at all, thank goodness, because they're nice books and they're reasonably written. I'm saying that myself because I know that because I took for bloody ages trying to write the sodding things. But they're inappropriately written for the children that I was writing for. I was probably writing for 1950s kids, not 2021. Well, when I was writing, it was 2017 at the time. And I realised that most of the stuff you have to write down has got to have farts in it, or be very base, or very... you've got to use dumbed down language, and you can't use good language. So I stopped. Anyway, that's my story. But what I was going to say is that reading a book has probably got a better grip of the English language, I would imagine, than very many posts, which are pretty much first drafts, maybe a little bit of editing mixed in. And so is the reading experience better or worse, or does that not matter? Station Master's Choice says... after tonight, I think Oscar might have forgiven you for throwing Blippy over your shoulder. Oh, I'm so pleased. Well, Blippy is actually, he is there, incarcerated in his plastic. And Station Master's Choice, I don't know whether he would like Blippy. But if Oscar would like Blippy as a Christmas present, then this was sent in to me by Andy the Collector, I have to say that. Andy the Collector, I hope you wouldn't mind if I give Blippy away, because basically I cannot stand him and what he represents, and I'm immensely jealous of the money that he's making, although that shouldn't be a thing, but it is. Not that I really need that money, but I just don't think this bloke has an ounce of talent, and yet somehow he has cornered this market, and he's obviously got a talent for making money on YouTube, of which I do not have. But if Oscar would like this and gets more pleasure out of it than I have, then that would be great. So I'm happy to send a Blippy to him. What else have we got up there on the thing? Paul Cockrell says, when does a twig become a stick? That is a good question too. I'm currently reading London's Trolleybus Routes by Hugh Taylor. Fantastic. That sounds a very gripping read. Lord Geoffrey Harrison has sent this book in. He's reading the International Rescue Thunderbirds Haynes Manual, how to take apart and put together a genuine Thunderbird flying machine. If you are reading anything similar, do let me know. If you want to send a picture in of the cover of your book, I'd be more than happy to show it there. Thank you very much, Lord Geoffrey. Lynn B says, I never used to listen to a podcast, but would like to listen to yours, the Vobes Show. How do I get it? Is it on YouTube? I've no idea. Lynn B, I only do something called The Naked Englishman, which is nakedenglishman.co.uk. That is the website. And it is the story, it's not a story. Well, it is a story. It's probably better that other people explain what it is. It's a very raw, stripped down, that's why it's called Naked, not that I actually am naked when I do it, especially not in the winter. It's a stripped-down type of podcast without all the usual bells and whistles of music and special effects and all of that sort of stuff. And I try to be as honest as I can about things that are happening to me, about behind the scenes of a YouTube creator, and often the story of my life. Sometimes I get a bit political. Sometimes I have a whinge. Sometimes I have a moan. Sometimes I'm just relating that I've been to the dump. The amenity tip, I beg your pardon. You can catch it on all the podcatchers, I believe, if you just look for The Naked Englishman, and that would be it. Bonnie says, I used to read books about psychotherapy, but I'm retired now, so what does that mean? You don't know? Well, what do you read? Michael White says, book The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall. There's a name for you. And is he manly? Is it a manly book? Kerry Baldwin says, I've just been reading Copsford by Walter J.C. Murray. Is that, what is that? That's a fiction, presumably. Is that historic fiction? Seabird says, going to join Rustington Library again. I think it's great that we still have the libraries going. I think that is great. I mean, I have to say, since I got into buying books, I have a strange relationship with books. I hate to give them back. Somebody came round my house the other day and he saw a book, Merlin it was, and we were chatting away, and he saw a book. What book was it? Oh, the Old Straight Track by Alfred Watkins, which is about ley lines and things. And he said, oh, do you mind if I borrow this book? And I said, no. I said, I'm ever so sorry, but I have this thing. I will not lend out books. I cannot bear to part with them. Hello.
Hi, it's Fabian. Sorry for the kind of a understanding that I had in regards to your question that you asked me, and I went gallivanting about milk for some particular reason. That's just part of my condition, and I do apologise. I just wanted to let you know in regards to what I've been listening as in Audible kind of stuff. So it's The Strange Stuff of Europe and The Madness of Crowds with Douglas Murray. And I just need to let everyone know, please listen to the YouTube channel, the Cultural Forum with Peter Whittle, because he's particularly good and he's very, very strong-minded, independent, and I really admire people like him. And there's just many, many, many more out there. I mean, there's one other guy, Peter Hitchens, I think it is. Or was it his brother, Chris? Or it's one of the Hitchin brothers, and sadly one died of cancer. But that's generally the kind of situation I just wanted to fly by you.
No worries. Yes, I know all of those, and I listen to So What You're Saying Is with Peter Whittle on the New Culture Forum. Yeah, very, very good. And there's many more. Funny enough, I had a conversation exactly like this with Andrew Norris just before we did the show. We were on the app of Watts, and we were talking about the various things, and he told me about Paul Joseph Watson, who I've been watching for ages and ages and ages, and he's a bit an acquired taste to many, but he does say some interesting things. But there's a whole host of this sort of stuff. A lot of people will go, oh, it's all right, extreme right-wingism. It might be slightly on the right side of things, but it's always best to be on the right. Anyway.
Well, before I go, I just want to also just say, I mean, I've voted Labour all my life, and for the life of me, I I've found myself going right, or I've been having the carpet below me move extreme left, so that I'm actually more perceived as on the right.
Interesting you say that, and yet the things that it must have been Christopher Hitchens, because he was a lefty, wasn't he?
Yes,
but he's
fascinating. A Bolshevik, because he spent time in Russia. You see,
yes, but doesn't mean
Moscow.
Yes,
but that doesn't mean he's a lefty. But that means he's got also what perceived right leaning perceptions.
Yes.
You've also got the likes of people like a certain Guardian journalist who spent 25 years of her life, but then she was hounded out, and now she's perceived as a extreme right-wing journalist, and also You got obviously Fraser Nelson with The Spectator, blah and blah that, and so it goes on. So there's accusations flying, saying if you question society politically, you are seen as a racist.
Yes, sorry, I've just had a photo of a book come in, so must go. But thank you so much, Fabian. It's lovely to hear your points of view again, and ring in, but not quite so soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Take care. Marvellous. We're cracking through the show. Fantastic stuff there. How about that? Interesting to get those references from Fabian. And yeah, Christopher Hitchin, I watched a whole load of his video. I haven't read any of his books, actually. I would like to, particularly because he was interesting about God, his notion on God and Christianity and all of that. And the Dawkins and his arguments and all of that. Anyway, never mind all that. And the other Peter Hitchens is also interesting to listen to him. Both of them are fascinating people in their own different independent ways. And sadly, yes, Christopher, I think he died of cancer, didn't he? So this is Audrey Forbes. This is the book that she's reading at the moment. Miss Reed, Over the Gate. Or is that misread? Misread, Over the Gate, which looks very interesting. What is it about? It's clearly a lovely old-fashioned, 1930s story in rural England. It's a book that I'm going to have to look up and try and read myself. That's my email, by the way. You don't want to see that, or I don't want you to see that, but there was nothing there that's terribly invigorating. So what else have we got? I'm reading Secret Sussex, a new book that's just arrived. Linda Kane has got it. It's a new book. Is there anything... The trouble with these Secret Sussex things is there anything new that was not in the early... I've got a book called Secret Sussex, but probably from the 1970s, that shows you that somewhere in Heathfield, I think there's a bit of a gas main sticking out, if I remember rightly. And then it does all the usual curiosities of what's his name's follies. I've got that lovely book, Fuller, old Fuller's Follies, and all these sort of curiosities and things. I still need to go and do something on him. Support your local library, guys. Lord Jeffrey says, the Vobes Show, Richard, sent you an email of the book I'm reading. I've just shown that. Bonnie says, I've just read the Richard Feynman lectures. I'm virtual signalling here. Well, it doesn't actually work with me because I've no idea who the hell he is and what that's about. So who is Richard? I can't even pronounce his name. Feynman. Is that it? Feynman? On physics, is it? Let's have a look. Lectures on physics. Here's a thing. The complete audio collection. I bet that kept you awake at night, did it? Let's have a look. Oh, there we go. Richard P. Feynman, it says here, and no idea. Is it genuinely about physics? Good. All right. I hope you enjoyed that. Oscar would love it if that's okay with the donor, says Station Master's Choice. Thank you very much. Yes. Send me an email with your address and I'll shove it in the post. Michael White says you can drive a bus through Dawkins' theories. Oh, yes, of course. I mean, to religious people, of course. I don't mean to upset anybody. I'm sure you can. Let me just say, and this isn't. Please don't take any offence. If you're religious-minded in any shape or form, because what I say doesn't matter, and it's only an opinion. However, I always think it's very convenient that it doesn't matter what anybody says about religion. They can be as dismissive or anything and say, but this, that, and the other. The religious or the faith lot or the God people, and please don't take offence. I don't know the right terminology of people with faith. I struggle with this. Always have the last laugh, don't they? They always have the last laugh because no matter what they say, they can wrap it up with the business that, well, that's how God wants you to see it. It's all been made in this way so that man will follow down the Dawkins path and look at things and say, well, and the Darwin path and say, yes, it's all of that. But that's how God wants you to see it. The Dawkins way and the Darwin way, you can actually replicate these things in real life. You can actually demonstrate these things, and I guess that's what makes it more believable. But maybe I'm missing. I clearly am missing something because people have their religious beliefs whatever their religion is. And I'm fine with people having their, as long as I'm not forced into going down that road myself, because I have no notion, never felt anything. I don't even believe in ghosts or spirits or all of this sort of stuff. I just don't have any sense that there's anything there, or there would be any order there or anything. So I envy these people who have this faith and can lock into it. I remember listening on Radio 4 to some, this was like 5-6 years ago, harrowing story of some woman in a far-flung country, I don't know where it was, in Africa or somewhere, and I forget who it was. I forget the tribes. It was a tribe thing, and this woman was being interviewed by a chap from the BBC, and something along the lines of, she had 2 daughters, and they were both raped by this army, and they both died, and they played this interview something like 5 years apart, and then they'd gone back to find her. And she had these 2 daughters. I remember listening to this, and she was religious, and the guy said, look, you've had these 2 daughters, they were raped and brutally murdered, and you survived. How have you survived? And she said, well, I believe in God. And I'm listening to this thinking, how do you believe in a God that lets that happen? How do you believe in that? That was the 5 year ago version. Then they went back. They found her again and found that this army or another army had come in, and she had been raped. She, now, the mother of these 2 daughters, had been raped, but she again survived. And then he said, my God, your life has been pulled apart. How have you coped? And she said, I still have my faith. And I just felt, and I don't mean to be offensive, but I just felt, well, it didn't do you much good, did it? It didn't do you much good. And I don't, this is what I suppose that's where I find it very difficult. So I admire people who do have a faith, because I just could not. I mean, it would be too challenging. A situation like it would be too challenging. David Ved says, is this a Bernard Manning joke? No, I don't think it is. That's okay then. I was worried my ears had fallen out with my eyes, and I should jump out, then back in again. It sorts out the problem. I'm not quite sure what they're talking about there. The Dawkins Way and the Darwin Way sounds like the title of a George Formby song. Yes, it probably is. When I'm cleaning windows. Paul Cockrell says, my advice to that mother would be to move. Yeah, that would have been... I think they were sort of mud hut territory, in one of these dreadful parts of the world that were continually where people would love to move. It was just so harrowing to listen to that, and it also made me think, what do you do? We live in I don't mean to get morose. We're coming to the end of the show. I don't mean to get, but what do you do? There is so much of this terrible stuff going on in the world, and then suddenly you look at yourself in the mirror, and you may have had a few problems, eye missing, son nearly died of a brain hemorrhage, dad had dementia, mother was an alcoholic, and you think, well, I've had a few problems, but actually nothing quite as bad as she has. And look at me, I do a live show, I sit here and pontificate and spout my rubbish, and people like it or hate it and can tell me, and we can debate, they can ring me up and have a debate and all of that. But I think that some people have really got it just bad. But what do? You feel so helpless. Hello, welcome to the show.
Hello. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. This idea of the mother moving, well, where does she move to?
Well, exactly.
Probably a war zone.
Yeah, it was. That was the point. She had no choice. I was just saying she couldn't.
Where did she move to?
Where
One
would
of the beaches in Kent?
Well, a lot of people are.
Exactly, because of what that woman has gone through.
Yeah, well, as far as I mean, it's a tricky thing, isn't it? We don't know. We don't know. They may have all watched one of my videos and thought England looks lovely. Let's all go over there. It's all that lovely green country.
Quite likely.
Yeah. Because they all seem to have mobile phones, so no doubt they've got an internet connection. Who am I talking to, by the way?
It's Ted Moulding from Milton Keynes.
Ah, Ted Moulding. How the devil are you?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Hey, we have lots of roundabouts here, and one of them is called Dump Bottle Roundabout.
Is it?
Bottle Dump Roundabout.
Why is it called that?
Because there used to be a man live in that area who collected bottles back in former times, and then that's how he made his living, selling them and recycling them.
Ah, concrete cowland, says Dave Vivad.
Yeah, we've got a bit more than concrete clouds.
Yes.
Yeah.
You've got plenty of roundabout. And also a lot of utilitarian buildings on the outskirts.
Yeah, well, that's you're finding that just about on any exit on the M1.
Yeah, probably.
From about 12 upwards, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, all the way up.
Mm. Yeah, no, of course. And because it makes sense. It's just that I had to go to Milton Keynes several times when I used to do the corporate videos and stuff. And as you were coming in through the multitude of roundabouts to try and find which of the grid pattern that you're supposed to be in, I would just go past, you see the Amazon place and all these other massive warehouses, these horrible tin utility places that just stick out like a sore thumb for huge, massive warehouses. And I used to think, thank God I don't work there.
Yeah, probably you and me both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're right. Where this mother had no choice. I mean, I was amazed that the BBC presenter chap managed to, or the reporter managed to find her again, and what could she do? But I suppose she was at her wit's end. That all she had was her faith.
Yeah.
And
quite likely.
And that's even doesn't really matter whether it's true or not. It's what kept her going. And I suppose, even if that's all it was, and I'm not suggesting that is all it is, but if that is all it is, and it keeps a certain section of people going that would otherwise have just gone sod this and committed suicide, then thank goodness for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Michael White says some of the happiest people make the most of what they have. They turn the negative into something positive. Wars are fought mainly for the greed of others. Yes. I think that's.
That's always been the case, though, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Going back all the way through history.
Why do people want to come to England rather than stay in France? Asked Bonnie. Well, I would rather live in England. But then I am English.
Probably because most of the world have some spattering of English. No matter where you go, you will find some English.
Yes. No, that's yes, that's true, isn't it?
So no matter where you are, you can be in quite remote places, and some will have a little bit of English.
Do you think that there is still circulating around the world that sort of notion that the streets of London are paved with gold, that the English are terribly nice people, and that actually, if we were to espouse, is that the right word, espouse? If we were to give out the fact that we were all rotten bastards, and that anybody who came to England was clubbed to death, and we could just perpetuate this myth, do you think that might put people off?
Well, I don't know. But
take a bit of doing.
I think still, the notion of Great Britain still has some resonance around the world.
Yeah. Well,
in the treatment of people.
Yes. So
whether that's true, whether it's actually true or not, is not the matter.
No,
it's the image of it.
It's exactly. We have a standard that it's the same old thing with all sorts of things, isn't it? The old corporate business. It always looks good on the outside. The brochure looks nice and glossy, but on the inside, when you work for somebody, it doesn't matter who it is, they always seem to be in chaos.
To a certain degree.
Yeah,
some are better at it than others.
Yes. Yes, but the larger the company, it seems that nobody's in the right job. You always got your line manager is always a complete and utter no-no, and everybody below you is stinkers because nobody seems to understand how to do things properly. And not just corporates, of course, big institutions like the National Health Service. You always hear people saying, "Oh, well, my boss doesn't understand how it works." My son was telling me that all the time. No matter where he went, and he moved around in the NHS quite a bit, and everyone, he says, nobody knows how to run this place. I could run this place, he says. And you think, I don't know, is that really true? It's just too big?
Yeah, probably. It really is a large organisation for anyone to control, isn't it?
Yeah. If we all went back to little family-run businesses, might be nice.
It's not something that you can control the demand for either, is it?
No. Well, we've offered so much.
You can hardly You can hardly say, "Oh, book it in for next week," like having your car serviced if the person's laying there in A&E with a broken leg.
Maybe we need to reduce what they do. Say, look, sorry, we only do broken legs, broken eyes, and broken noses. Anything else, sorry, mate, you have to go somewhere else.
Somewhere else.
And imagine, if you did that though, if you said we can only do this, there would be a number of places that would go, well, actually, there's a hole in the market there. I could fix. Do they do ears? No, they don't do ears. I could do ears. If you've got a terrible ear problem, I'll do it. And then 3 or 4 ear places would set up, and they'll have to compete with each other. So the prices would come down. At the moment, the prices are going private are so expensive because there's no alternative. But surely the old market forces, of course, you'd have certain standards to keep. You couldn't have just John round the corner going, I've heard ears is the thing to do. Let's. Have you got any experience with ears? No, not really. I've got some ear wax. Well, that's enough. Have you ever cleaned your ear out with a pen? Oh, yeah, that's fine. That'll do. We'll get them in. We just stick.
It's kind of difficult to say, isn't it, really? Because, being free at the point of service is somewhat different to what it could be in other parts of the world, where you've got to max out your credit card before they even look at you.
Well, yes.
So, it's fours and
the trouble,
fours and against it.
The trouble with health is that there's the potential that you could die. If it's a car, the worst is that you just have to buy a new car, but you can't just buy a new life. And so,
exactly, yeah, it's true.
You've always got this sort of. They've got the end game there. So, well, if we can't just let people die. So we have to do something. We have to offer. And every time they come up with a miracle cure for something, or there's now a new blood test so that you can test whether you've got prostate cancer. You don't have to have someone stick a finger up your bum. People go, oh, we'll have that then. How much is that? Well, it should be cheaper. But actually, the people who stick the fingers up the bum are complaining that they're now out of work. So I would have thought they'd be much nicer. No.
Anyway.
Prick a finger instead. Anyway, enough of this gay banter. Let's move on. I've got to end the show. But thank you so much, Ted. Lovely to talk to you.
Yeah, catch you later.
Yeah, take care. Look after yourself there in Milton Keynes. All the best. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.
Bye for now. Here we are. That was Ted Moulding from Milton Keynes. They're very keen to get on the show at the end of the thing. Just before we go, the streets of London are paved with fools, says Mr. Mocky. I think you're right. £1,000 refugee arrived in... number 1,000 refugee arrived in the UK today, apparently, says Paul Cockerell. I know it's absolutely absurd. Just over 23,000 has come this year in the first 10 months. And still they'll come. The English are very tolerant, sometimes too tolerant, says Michael White. Keep landing on my beach, says Mark Burgess. Oh, right. Sean says the London Loop is the best thing about London. Yeah, you go loopy in London, don't you? And Paul Cockerell says, I think they should privatise the NHS and give us all a £2,000 voucher so that we each can take out private health insurance with a provider of our choice. And the rest, maybe £5,000. The thing is, I'm not advocating that the NHS should charge, but But I think if they did charge, maybe people would look after themselves a bit better. Don't know. I don't think people do look after themselves. There's always that. I remember, and I've said this before, and I'll say this as the last thing really in the show, but when I was looking after my father with my sister, when he had dementia, his partner, Margaret, would sit every morning, get up and have about 7 pills that she'd have to take with a glass of water. And she'd have to take them in a certain order, and she would sit there and take half an hour sitting there. And she would moan about this every time, oh, I've got to take my pills. And my sister, who's a nurse, was there with me in the kitchen one morning. We were getting stuff ready for Dad. We were sitting there, and she's taking this, she's going on and on about these pills and how awful it is that she's got to take these pills. So my sister got a bit on her high horse and said, what are these pills for? And so Margaret went through each one. One was for a heart condition, one was for angina, one was for this, one was for that, and something wrong with her bowels and something with this, that and the other. So my sister turned around and says, I suppose so these pills are here to keep you alive then, are they? And Margaret said, yes. And my sister just exploded and just thought, you don't know you're blooming born. And she had a right go at her, and I didn't blame her, and said, you're moaning that you have to take 7 pills that will keep you alive because basically you're a fat, unconditioned woman, out of condition. You haven't looked after yourself. And if you'd looked after yourself better and done some more exercises and ate proper food and all the rest of it, you might have only had to take a couple of pills. Instead, because that you could die at any minute, you're moaning that you're having to take 7 pills which are extending your life. And I thought, quite right too. This has been the Vobes Show. We have debates on this show. We love it. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for the wonderful videos. Andrew Morris with his look at the fireworks, at Bonnie, at the murmuration. Thanks to Sean for sending in that text about the kids who think they're undone by all the rest of it. Thanks to you, to Julia, for moderating and making sure everybody's all good and happy. And thanks to all the lovely phone calls, too many of you to mention, which is fantastic. You're getting the idea of ringing in on 07934746790. But that's it in today's show. Have a wonderful weekend. I have a gentle stroll as a walk for you tomorrow morning from 7 o'clock. I hope you enjoy it. Upper Dicker to somewhere else. Not Lower Dicker, I'm pleased to say. Have a good weekend. If you're going to any services on Sunday, be humble and remember, and I will see you on Monday. Take care. Bye for now.